memorabilia and supplies. New and vintage cards in Pokemon. They sell and trade cards. Source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at instantReplaySportsCards.com.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lunan, powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Give us a call, 850-215-6290.
Sports Talk Radio will never be the same.
Oh, you gotta give him that hawk.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Onion pickles.
Live and local on ESPN.
Northwest Florida.
Keep making noise. Keep making noise. Yeah.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes, along with the great Coach Brian Haddad, and this is a Monday edition of the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Please like and share the Facebook feed and the page, and follow us over there on Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, download the app, and register. Just want to take my first words back onto the microphone and thank all that gave me any words of encouragement, condolences, all of that for the family. Very, very, very much appreciated for all of those who came in and still kept the show rolling. That meant a lot to me. Shout out to the boss man, now Gramps man, as we're calling him over here. He's a fresh grandpa. Shout out to Bone Crusher for, making sure that everything was all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. So thank you to all of you, and thanks to the listeners for keeping on. Man, means a lot to me. And with that being said, I have not been in total tune with the sports world as of late, rather. And I know Coach Brian Haddad is going to get me up to speed here today. I did get the opportunity to watch some NFL football yesterday. I got an opportunity to see Alabama just walk their way out of the college football playoff Saturday evening. Maybe. I don't think
it's full chaos, dude.
It is full chaos.
It's full
chaos, but more chaotic than anything. And I get that you're on the road. That's fine and dandy. But you lose 24-3. To me, you have no business being in the college football playoff. But again, you're right. We'll see what the committee says. I'm not saying that they... yes, I'm saying that they shouldn't be. As a fan of Alabama, I'm saying they shouldn't be, but, if you have a different thought, I'd love to hear.
No, I don't. I mean, the funny thing is this coming weekend is usually the weekend of pure chaos.
Right.
That's what's crazy about it. So if you look at it, I was kind of thinking about this earlier today. In my mind, there's 10 spots pretty well locked in, okay? The Big Ten's getting 4. I know people think Indiana slipped out. I don't think they did, and certainly not with what happened in the SEC.
Okay.
So I think the Big Ten's getting 4. I think Notre Dame's in. I think the Group of Five's in. One of the Big 12 teams, and no more, I think is going to be in. And then the ACC is definitely in, right? So there's 4 more. Now we're at 8. The SEC, I think, has 2 locks for certain right now.
Texas and Georgia,
because they're going to be in the champ game, right? So I think 10 spots are pretty well locked up. Basically what it comes down to for the final 2 spots, they're either going both to the SEC, or one's going to go to the SEC and one's going to go to a second ACC team.
Okay, so Miami, SMU, essentially. Or possibly Clemson.
So that's what I think it is most likely. Now, right now, I would say most likely that spot will be Tennessee's for the SEC. However, if A&M beats Texas, it's theirs.
All right.
And then that last spot really becomes interesting.
Okay, so let's say this. Texas beats Texas A&M, and Vanderbilt beats Tennessee. Doesn't Tennessee still have the tiebreaker to some extent there over Alabama, being that you're both going to have 3 losses on the record, and Tennessee's got the head-to-head win, and both of you lost to Vandy at the house?
Tennessee's only problem is, look, the head-to-head I would agree with, and I would put Tennessee in ahead of Alabama.
Yeah, so would I.
Alabama has a much better win than Tennessee does. The losses would be similar.
Okay.
I would start head-to-head, and let's say Tennessee gets that 11th spot. Alabama's still in play for 12.
Yeah.
But what happens in the ACC is going to determine that. The best thing that can happen to the
Miami
SEC...
win the ACC?
Well, the best thing that can happen to the SEC would be Miami winning and South Carolina beating Clemson. South Carolina could do the SEC a lot of favors, and quite frankly, don't count them out. Like, if they go boat race Clemson, they're sitting on 3 losses.
You're right.
Just like everybody else. So I think South Carolina beating Clemson and Miami beating SMU is the path for the SEC to possibly have 4.
Yeah.
Right now. Now, again, 30 things could happen.
So many things could happen. I mean, the way that this last Saturday played out, Ole Miss falling to Florida, I'm just sitting there watching that, like, not even, I was watching the ending of that game, right? I'm like, how in the world is this happening? I'm like, all right, this is setting up so well for Bama because they've got Oklahoma tonight. This is going to be, we're going to be waltzing into the playoffs. This will be amazing.
Yeah.
And then you see, Kentucky and Texas. Kentucky, Texas is struggling for a little bit with them. And those are the only 3 football games that I watched was those SEC games on ABC. And then you get to the end of the evening and, Bama's down, 17-3, and it's like, all right, like 14 points. This is no big deal. We could score in a flash. And we stay with that 3-banger the whole entire night. I'm like, what in the world? This is not an Alabama program by any stretch of the imagination. As I'm sitting here telling you guys today, I just don't believe, no matter what, that Bama should be in the playoff because you can have those great wins. You can beat Georgia. You can beat LSU as bad as you want to. However, when you get into a situation where you've got to prove your dominance and you can't even do that, you can't even get a touchdown up.
They just didn't look ready.
Tough for me.
They didn't look ready.
Can't overlook opponents.
Milroe thought that we changed jerseys at halftime and came out in red.
Maybe that was the case.
Milroe, to me, watching him this year, I think he was hurt in the South Carolina game. I think that hurt him a little bit for Tennessee and even a little bit in Missouri. Missouri was more about what the defense did. And I think getting him rested was good. But if you watch him, I get the sense, this is purely conjecture. I don't have any sources in there, but watching his body language, it strikes me that he just doesn't seem bought in all year on the offense. And anytime anything goes wrong, he's almost just like, I don't have an answer. He throws his hands up. He looked like that the entire game. Like when they first couple of drives couldn't kind of get things, he just looked out of sorts. And he looked like he doesn't believe. Even last year when they were behind, like in the Auburn game and things, he looked like he believed in what they were doing. Whether or not it was going to be good enough or not, I don't know, but he looked like he believed it. Either he's not comfortable or he hasn't grasped it or he doesn't believe in it, but there's something off. And so anytime anything goes a little bit wrong, there's no confidence in him the way I thought there was at times last year, even early this year, because all of their big wins, he got off to a hot start. And, so things went well. It was one of those nights. They didn't look prepared overall. Oklahoma was fired up, ready to go. It was a big game for them. There was a lot going on. They needed that for their pride. And quite frankly, for whatever reason, Oklahoma always plays Alabama good. They have all the way back through history. They still have, they now again have a winning record against Alabama. So it was a weird one, but how... If you have it all laid out in front of you, and I know Auburn's a big game coming up. Yeah. It's the game, you want to win the most, or Tennessee for me, but you can't look ahead, and that's what it looked like. It looked like they looked past Oklahoma, and they got burned for it.
Yeah, well, and that's the age in college football that we're living in, right? You really don't have that opportunity to look past opponents. You can say all you want that the early losses are better, and they still are. They are, because once you start getting here to this point in the season and the chaos is getting as wacky as what it's getting, it's a lot of fun. For sure, right? Even as an Alabama fan, I would not want to see the Tide miss the first ever 12-team college football playoff, but seeing what's lining up right now, this is beautiful. And shout out to FSU for getting their first win. How about that?
Yeah. Well, I'm putting the points on the board, too.
Yeah.
I mean, 40. I mean, I'll be honest with you, when it was nothing at the end of the first quarter, that wasn't a good feeling. Yeah. But 41 points is good. Look, don't count them out. I know, look, they
Florida
shouldn't.
State or Alabama? What do you
Well, Florida State, for beating Florida this week.
okay. I'm
Look,
like, you can't get it with 2 wins.
rivalry games.
Right.
Rivalry games
And
or
Florida's
something.
looked real good.
And what you want is a team playing with momentum. The problem is Florida has momentum.
Yeah.
So, obviously that's going to be a tough test, and 98% I would pick Florida. I'm just saying that's huge for FSU going into a game like a rivalry game like that, especially one at home. So good for them kind of getting some confidence back and getting some things moving. Florida, on the other side, I thought played extremely hard the way they have been. And this does not take anything away from what they did because they caused a lot of scenarios. But this game is the first game all this year I thought Lane Kiffin looked like Lane Kiffin before this year.
Right.
He made some of the old mistakes that he hasn't made all year. And I thought that fit into the game. When you're inside the red zone 3 times and you give it up on downs twice and miss field goal, you can't do that against any SEC opponent, especially one playing as well as Florida. Their defense was flying to the football. DJ Lagway is becoming more and more confident, more and more comfortable.
More and more poised.
Back there. Yeah. And, he made some great throws with pressure in his face. So the future is bright in Florida for sure. And I think Ole Miss, not taking anything away from Florida, I think Ole Miss let one get away from them. And that's inexcusable because I don't think they have a chance anymore at all. And they really gave it away this year. With one possession loss to Kentucky that they're just ruining. They lost a late one to LSU, and then, even with all those mistakes, they lost a one-possession game to Florida. So Ole Miss should be in the playoffs, and they played themselves out of it.
Yeah, that's a great point, and also a little stat that Tyler Bishop sent over to us this morning. Ole Miss had 35 runs in that game against the Gators. 14 of those were by Jackson Dart. 11 of those were by wide receivers. 6 by Pegues. And then 4 by running backs. I just don't know how you don't set the tone with your running back.
That's a weird setup. And look, Dart had some drops, and Trey Harris going right back out injured didn't help. But I'm telling you, Florida's defense, if they're not, the most talented defense in the country, they fly to the ball as good as anybody. Those guys played like they liked playing defensive football. And that was fun to watch. And, Ole Miss's defensive line did not have the game they had against Georgia. They just didn't do it. And they were good. But, they were good enough to give themselves a chance to win the game. But I thought Kiffin got in their way, and Florida took advantage of their opportunities. And sometimes that's all it takes.
What do you think of this comment on Facebook? By the way, we are doing best and worst of the weekend, as we always do on Monday. So if you'd like to text or call them in, we are taking your calls. We don't have very many guests lined up this afternoon. So if you'd like to call in, 850-215-6290. Comedian Michael Statham says, worst of the weekend was DeBoer saying he thought they worked hard this week. Mike goes on to say, how did he not know as head coach? And he says that's the summary of the season. Thank you so much, Michael.
I think you can work hard during the week and just still come out flat. And for whatever reason, they didn't look like. I think it was Jonathan Allen and the crew, the early 2010 guys, who talked about those Bama teams. They got more hype to go on the road and smack somebody in their own place. This Alabama team doesn't look like that to me. Look at what they've done on the road this year, honestly, other than LSU.
It's been garbage.
It hasn't been great. It's been very flat.
And I don't think that LSU game is played like that if it's not for the weather.
So, very
advantageous for the run game. Garrett Nussmeier was at a disadvantage because of the weather.
I think they caught LSU at the absolute right time.
I will give you that because of where they came from. But also, I do think that weather played a huge role for the game that Garrett Nussmeier plays.
Maybe.
Devil's advocate.
Maybe.
At least
Fair
devil's
enough.
advocate.
It's not a bad take. I'm not sure I agree, but that's all right.
Hey.
But they could have done work all week, but for whatever reason, when they got off the plane, got there, it just it didn't seem like game time. Like, this is everything. Like, it was like, it's just a step along the way. No, this game is everything. You are in survival mode, and you have to lay it all out there, and I didn't see that. So I understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was all week.
Well, I think you also went from a coach, Kalen DeBoer, who I'm not going to say that he doesn't know what he's doing, because obviously he's shown every stop along the way. He knows what he's doing, right? But there's a difference when you're in a locker room that is led by the greatest coach of all time.
Sure.
You're going to feel much more confident in your game plan. And then the year after, when it's a new guy who was also in the college football playoff last year, maybe you question things a little bit more.
I think we knew Nick Saban was worth 1 to 2 wins per season by himself, just by his greatness.
Yeah.
And what are we looking at? Last year's team was not very good. Let's face it.
There's
they
no
weren't.
disagreement there for me.
But they lost 1 game.
And Jalen Milroe hit a growth spurt that was just undeniable.
And they should have lost the Auburn game. And so I'm not sure that the teams are very different. But Nick Saban was worth 1 to 2 differences, whatever like that. And that's basically what's happened. Kalen DeBoer can grow into that.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think he's a good coach.
I think he's a great hire.
Yeah.
I still think he's a great hire. I will argue with anyone on that. Listen, the days of discipline that you're used to seeing from old coaches, that's gone by the wayside now, brother.
I had lunch with Hale today. We were talking about this today. I mean, when is the last time Georgia was carrying 2 losses at this point in the season? 6 years ago?
It's been a while.
It's a different year. It really is a different year. I mean, Texas may be carrying 2 losses by the end of this thing.
They could. Texas
everybody else is. I mean, it's crazy. You just don't see that. So I'm not excusing it away. I wish the team was playing better. I'm just not sure the team is that much different from last year. But that was the value of Nick Saban. They found a way to take a team that wasn't fantastic and 1 loss get into the playoffs, whether they should or not, we can debate that again, but they did and whatever. So I'm not sure the gap between the 2 teams is that much different. The record is just different.
Breaking news.
Looks like UConn has gone down, according to Kyle Albrecht, and Memphis has taken down UConn in college basketball. So we've got the upsets rolling already.
There you go, Little Penny.
Little Penny, absolutely. And we've got Travis Peterson on the line with us. Travis, what's up? You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. What do you got for us today, my Gator man?
Brian, how dare you give Florida State a 2% chance?
Come on now. You like 2% milk every now and again, don't you?
I had to give them 2. That was it, but I give them 2.
Yeah, I guess so. They beat a team that somehow did worse than they did. And
there you go. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Yep.
No, I tell people all the time I'm worried about this game. Like, my wife's a Florida State fan, and both my brothers are. And I told them this weekend, so I was over there with them, I was like, I'm worried about this game. And they kind of looked at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, throw everything out the window when you look at a rivalry game. It doesn't matter if you win a single game in the year. You come and beat us. Is it likely? No. You got a freshman quarterback that didn't play quarterback till like his junior year in high school. Something like that. And with how hot Florida's doing, it's very unlikely. But it is a chance.
Yeah, no,
there's always a chance. So you're saying there's a chance.
And look, all of these are time-honored, statements that we all make. It's, if I could go 1-11 and beat Florida, it'd be a great year for me as a Seminole fan. And whatever.
But now they're living.
Now, that's coming way too close to the truth. But here's the thing: you do as a fan base, and you do as those players. If you can't have success, denying your in-state rival success is almost as sweet. So they're going to be geared up. Their problem is they're just not playing very good football, and the game is still 4 quarters. But there is always that chance. We've seen crazy things happen in this, rivalry through the year. I mean, what Florida State was? What was the choke at Doak? What was it? 24 points in the 4th quarter or something, and then tied the game. I mean, things happen in this series. So who knows?
Yeah, and I tell you what, though, the one thing I seen during that Ole Miss game is Florida got back to hitting. I guess Jordan Castell talked to Brandon Spikes or something during the night before, because that one where I thought he knocked the guy out.
Yeah.
He as soon as he caught the ball, Jordan Castell just stood there like a brick wall, and that dude had no chance.
Yeah. No, they were flying to the football on defense. I mean, they hit that proverbial extra gear on nearly every play of the second half. It was fun to watch.
I told my wife, because she was like, isn't that like a penalty? That should not happen. I was like, nope, that was a clean hit. It was just an old school hit.
That's right.
It was a doobie. That's what it was. Like, that dude.
From the small amount of football that I was able to watch this weekend, compared to, like, sitting on a couch for 2 days straight and ingesting as much or digesting as much as you possibly can, I saw a lot of good hits that were very hard, but were considered legal. And I was like, man, this is nice seeing these hard hits.
Like 1998 again. Yeah,
there was even one last night. What was it? Rams and Eagles, Sunday Night Football. Colby Parkinson, tight end, catches one to the right side of the field and runs into Darius Slay. And when Darius Slay's trying to get up, I'm like, oh no, please go back down, bro. Like, you are wobbled right now. You just you just got hit by a bus. And that's what the announcer said. He was like, oh, they need to sit down.
There was a big one in the Cowboys Commanders game.
Yeah. Oh, it was Austin Eckler.
Him out.
Oh my God. Yeah. It looked,
he went out cold.
And it looked Lawrence Taylor like his players were waving instantly while the ball
you
was
hate
still.
to see that.
Yeah, but it was
makes your heart drop.
You felt bad. It was good that he was able to get up and walk off field, but I mean, that looked like an old school football hit. I mean, it just
yeah. Man, what about? Well, your Saints were on a bye, so you didn't have any. So it was just all good news for you this weekend. Do you have a best and a worst of the weekend? Give me something.
So I had it on Facebook. The best was definitely Florida winning against Ole Miss.
Yeah,
was not one I had on there. I had us winning LSU. I didn't give the same for Ole Miss. So that was definitely a best. The worst is my fantasy football has completely deflated. Like 6 losses in a row. In 8 games, I've lost 7 games. Only 1 win in between.
Me and Coach Brian in the Coach James Hale League, we had a battle last night. I was hoping that if Puka didn't make that last catch, the Eagles giving up that late touchdown, it was like, what, 1.8 points or something like that?
I think I won by just under a point.
Yeah. Wow. I love those kind of battles.
The crazy thing is I was offering a player up for trade a couple weeks ago, and I can't remember who it was trying to find a player to send me, and he was like, your team's so stacked. And I'm sitting there thinking, if my team's so stacked, why do I keep losing?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It's just the way the cookie crumbles, man. Sometimes you can be stacked, but, a couple of your guys have an off week, and then...
Or you start Kyler Murray at quarterback like I did in my other league.
Ugh. That one's...
and I got Valdez Scantling now, so he's going to be a good...
I think the way for you, Travis, is just draft all the Saints players. Somehow it didn't work out, or somehow it worked out well for you last year, because look at you in the Champions League, so...
Yep, and I'm going to be right out first year.
Hey, we'll never know.
5% chance.
Hey,
just like college basketball, one and done, baby.
One and done. Travis, thanks so much for the call. Good to hear from you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Good to hear from y'all.
You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. When we get back, I got some NFL overreactions to go over Coach Haddad with, and we're still taking your calls and text 850-215-6290. I'm looking for your best and worst of the weekend in the world of sports.
This just in. Get the latest sports news, scores, and updates from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Follow us on Facebook for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes action, live streams, and the chance to interact with your favorite hosts.
Stay connected. Stay connected. Stay connected.
Join the conversation on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Search for ESPN Northwest Florida and crush the follow button.
I follow you on social media.
We're always here to keep you in the game.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The remainder of the day, partly cloudy and a temperature of 75 with wind 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the south. Partly cloudy skies tonight, a light breeze and quite warm near 68. Partly sunny and 76 tomorrow. 74 and slight fog in the morning, followed by some sun with a light breeze Wednesday. This is your Monday's weather, sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
That Cajun Place is your LSU and Saints football headquarters. Saints and LSU fans, wear your team colors and score a free Jell-O shot when your team scores a touchdown. Only at That Cajun Place. Get $5 pitchers on select draft beers during all live football games. Catch all the games at once with the NFL package on 27 large TVs at That Cajun Place. And the best wings on the beach. The locals' favorite, That Cajun Place.
Here at Panama City Toyota, Toyotathon is on, where you can get refined design and 3.99% APR on a new Camry, plus 90 days until you make your first payment. Enjoy the ride in a new Corolla and get 3.99% plus 90 days until you make your first payment. Or stand out in a new RAV4 and get 3.99% APR. Good cheer and great deals. Toyotathon at Panama City Toyota.
Offer expires December 2nd. Visit PanamaCityToyota.com.
Now back to the most dangerous afternoon show on terrestrial radio.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
It's illegal in 5 states. The Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You're now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Let's just keep it real. Panama City, how are you doing? Port St. Joe, we've got you as well. 104.3 Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. We are the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Coach Brian Haddad. You guys can call or text us this afternoon, 850-215-6290. And we'd love to hear from you what your best and worst of the sports weekend was. And you know, one of the beautiful things about this area is we've got so many different fans of different teams. So I'd like to hear, you know, what are the people from the West Coast who are, you know, living over this way now? What are some of your best and worst of the weekend? There was a lot of great things happening in the world of the NFL, a lot of great things happening in the world of college football. Chaos is amidst us right now. And I got to say, man, even as a fan of a certain team, I enjoy the chaos, even if it doesn't play out in their favor. What we're going to see from this first ever college football playoff. Could you ever imagine 10 years ago and you knew that it was going to be a 12-team playoff for the college football playoff? Could you imagine Boise State being one of the top 4 seeds, getting a bye and hosting, well, not hosting, they wouldn't be hosting, but getting a bye into the, you know, being one of the top 4 seeds?
The only reason I would say no, because of the way it's laid out,
yeah,
obviously, but the only reason I would say no is because I would not have expected there to not be a Pac-12.
Facts.
And the Big 12 to not have Oklahoma, Texas, you know, teams like that. So the way the conferences have realigned is what has thrown it. But I don't know. I mean, if you go back long enough, I mean, Boise was there every year.
Yeah,
you know, they were kind of the first Cincinnati or whatever.
They were there 10 years before the college football playoff.
Excuse me, and they would do it several years in a row. So.
Yeah, they've had some great runs. They've had Ashton Jency doing a wonderful job for them. Now, that's a good question, too, that we can dive into at 5 o'clock. The Heisman, like, which way? You got Travis Hunter out there doing back-to-back Heisman poses when he's scoring a touchdown. You've got Ashton Jency, who's playing for a college football playoff-bound team. You've got Dylan Gabriel, who, you know, Oregon has not skipped a beat this year. They got off to a slow start, yes, but they haven't skipped a beat. And then there's some other players out there who could possibly make a run for it, but I think now you're really looking at maybe 3 players who could make a run there for the Heisman. But, you know, in the world of the NFL, one of the craziest games that I think I've ever witnessed was the Cowboys and the Commanders. Did you have what were some of your thoughts watching that game yesterday afternoon, rather?
If you've played Madden,
yeah,
and ever accidentally hit the spin button when nobody's within 5 yards of you, and your guy just spins for no reason.
But they don't spin that fast.
That's what happened on that kickoff return. It's the crazy. I'm watching this thing live, and this dude does a spin really with nobody close to. I can't remember his name.
Devontae Turpin.
Turpin. He does a spin with nobody really there, and I think everybody on the field was just like, what? And he was gone.
Yeah.
It was one of those plays that I just sat there like, did I just see what I think I saw? Like, it literally looked like someone hit the spin button at the wrong time. It was hilarious. But that game was insane, and I don't know what's happened to kickers this year.
38 points, I believe, in the last, in the final quarter?
Yeah, but you've got 2 missed PATs. I mean, the huge one. Tucker's been missing kicks all year.
Yeah.
I mean,
but there's also been, on the flip side of that, the irony of it is when it comes down to a game winner that's 60 or more
Oh, my
yards,
God. They're making 50s and 60s, and they're missing 35ers. I don't know what it is.
Now, I will say for the Commanders kicker yesterday, the Redskins kicker, that was a tough hold for Wade.
Sure.
He had to get a discombobulated snap and get it up there, but that's tough.
One of the best things that has ever happened to the NFL, I think, is moving that extra point back, because it does make it interesting now. And, that game was insane. I mean, there were so many twists and turns through that game. It was crazy to watch. Of course, me, like an idiot with the Commanders' defense on my fantasy team, it wasn't that great.
But how were you? Cooper Rush was the quarterback of the Cowboys, Brian. I would have felt safe if the Commanders were my team.
I think I've had whichever defense is playing the Cowboys almost every game this year, and it's worked out. But that game was insane. But that spin move is still the thing to me that just threw me. And then the funnier thing was the guy running back the onside kick at the end.
Yeah.
And you could see McCarthy upset, because if he goes down, it's over.
Yeah.
But as you saw, they actually got a Hail Mary attempt. I mean, it came up about 8 yards short, but still, that's one of those football IQ plays.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I get it. You want your name in the paper, as Booger says.
Yeah, but you got to
go down.
Yeah, I was hoping Saquon did that last night as well, because I already had 39 points from him. I didn't need the extra 6, and I'm like, all right, well, that will ensure that Puka Nacua does not get the ball back. But, they got the ball back.
I'm just glad Puka didn't throw a punch this week.
I don't know if you were going back and forth with that game, but that was about the only.
I didn't actually see it till this morning.
I got blown out in one league, and then pretty much all the rest of my leagues, even some of the ESPN leagues, were pretty. I think the replacements in the Champions League, the team that I'm manning there, I didn't. I drafted them terribly because the owner didn't show up, and now I've been stuck with that team all year. But all of my other games were pretty much blowouts, either me getting blown out or me blowing someone else out. And I checked that score at Sunday Night Football. I knew it was going to be a good one. I'm like, oh man, you got Puka and the Rams, and I don't know if I had anyone left playing at that point, but what was it, 130 or 142 point?
Yeah, we were both in the 140s. I mean, we had good weeks, but no, it was. I think it was like 0.9. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy. And then in my other one, I've got a chance tonight, and I just need Herbert to have a big game. But
I love fantasy football.
And that's the one I'm in last. And the funny thing is, I've been in last and thought I could climb out, and the bottom 5 teams have all won 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And I can't make up any ground, but it's, it's one of those weird things. That game was amazing. The Panthers-Chiefs game was so much fun to watch.
Bryce Young starting to turn
Let me
into
tell you,
something?
I have it as one of my bests. The benched quarterbacks coming back the way that they have. And I know Richardson didn't have a huge game this weekend, but he's starting to look better and do some things better. Bryce has looked a lot better. Will Levis has looked better. I mean, it could look worse, but
he lucked out yesterday.
I get it, but he's made some big throws the last couple of weeks. He and Ridley are definitely on the same page.
Yeah, and Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Right. Well, now, but certainly. So, I mean, it's good to see that, because I hate when these guys come in, and look, we're not, in most cases, we're not talking about guys coming in as 23, 24-year-olds anymore. We're talking about coming in as 20-year-olds, and they come in, they get 4, 5, 6 games, maybe a season, and then they get cast away and never to be heard from again. And so I like the fact that these guys got sat down, they got to get settled, learn a little bit, and get another chance. And they've pretty well taken their opportunities. Now, they're not lighting the world on fire yet, but they're playing better. And that's all you can ask of these guys. So that's good. Hopefully the development will continue, because I do think all of them are talented guys I'd like to see have a better shot. So
It was so wild, too, because that early window in the NFL yesterday was just nothing but
crazy
blowouts, right? And then all of a sudden, you're looking at these scores, you're like, oh, my gosh, what in the world is going to happen? And if there was a team that I was going to put big money on yesterday, it probably would have been the Commanders. I love getting the underdogs, but I don't feel like, no doubt. Two of the biggest upsets yesterday were the Cowboys taking care of the Commanders, and then obviously the Titans taking care of the Texans. And that one throw right after the Titans took the lead, and then you just give it right back to the Texans on a pick six. It's like, but the defense played surprisingly well, especially for not having L'Jarius Sneed for the Tennessee Titans yesterday. So that was a nice point to see. And here's the other thing. I think there's so many fans that once your team is 2-8, or you only got 3 wins on the season, it's like, well, let's play for a draft pick. I'm not that type of fan. I don't care about the draft pick, especially the way that the Tennessee Titans decide to utilize their draft picks. So I was excited to see them take down a divisional foe, especially being the Houston Texans in their house.
I would like to see the Titans draft in the top 5 for the sole purpose of you're either getting one of the 2 or 3 key quarterbacks or the top lineman.
Yeah.
And the problem with the Titans has been in their bad years typically, other than Mariota and Vince Young years, they have typically drafted anywhere from, say, 8 to 20.
Yeah.
And so you're getting the second, maybe third lineman.
Yeah.
The second DB. And that's typically, or, the third receiver. I mean, that's typically what Tennessee has drafted, and I'm just tired of seeing that. I hated missing out on Joe Alt last year. Wasn't their fault. Chargers made the call and got a good one. Latham, is okay.
I think he's done well this year.
But I would have much rather had Joe Alt.
Right.
And obviously they could use an upgrade at quarterback, but I'm not against giving Levis, some more time. But let's go solidify that line. And my worry is where they are right now. They're probably looking at the number 2 lineman again.
I will also say this.
And I think they're going to draft a receiver, which worries me a little bit.
It's like we've got an okay receiving core. If we can't protect the quarterback, then we can't get the ball to these receivers. So
I'm seeing mocks that have them taking Luther Burden, which he's a great player, but I need another lineman.
Yeah, we need to shore up the offensive line.
Yeah.
I'll say this. The longer that this season has gone on, now we've also seen a couple of weeks without Will Levis, there's still boneheaded throws where you're just like, but it hasn't been as bad. Yep. He was, 11 of 11 to start yesterday with a couple of touchdowns to go along with that, or at least one touchdown to go along with that to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine on a wide open pass there. I think Tony Pollard has been a wonderful, but there's also things that I'm like, all right, Coach Callahan, this is your first year coaching an NFL football team, and I'm starting to see that where it's like, I can't even blame Will Levis on everything anymore, because there's some play calls that I'm like, what are we doing here? Listen, run the ball. Meaning, what was it, 3rd and 3 or so last night or yesterday afternoon, and don't throw the ball right here. You're trying to get the first down. We need to make them use their last time out. This is the Texans, and they are a dangerous football team. You want to win the game or you want to lose the game, and then that's on you, and then you better get up there on that podium and say that was an idiot play decision.
This year's NFL is so amazing because there's 5-6 teams that have really separated themselves. Yeah. Then there's the mass.
Yeah.
And then there's ostensibly 4 or 5 teams, maybe 6, playing for the first pick. But all of them came alive this week except the Giants and the Raiders. The Giants and the Raiders are like, we know how to do this, guys. I mean, we know how to do this. And probably the 2 teams most in need of a quarterback, honestly. So it does make sense. But the Titans, kind of pulling away there. The Browns playing better, obviously.
How about that game Thursday night? Didn't watch the whole thing, but just I wish I would have stayed awake for that fourth quarter.
Who else was in play? Somebody else who was in play for that one, or almost won the Panthers. I mean, they should have won that thing. The Jags have a little something to say about that, but they've hitched their wagon to Trevor, so they're not going to go quarterback, so they could maybe trade it. I don't know. The Giants, to me, look like the worst team in the NFL.
Okay.
Right now.
Well, I mean,
we'll see.
Well, you brought up a good point, too, a little bit ago about these quarterbacks who got benched.
Yeah.
And then they get back. They get their job back, or the coach puts them back in that position, and they look like they're having a little bit of a resurgence. Do you think that it was right of the Dallas? We've seen multiple times from Daniel Jones that maybe he's not the guy. This isn't his first or second year, right? But do you think that maybe benching him for a little bit and then bringing him back instead of going ahead and just cutting ties with him, do you think that would have been the right move, or it was just time to get rid of Daniel Jones?
He's been there 4 years.
Well, he asked for, I just found out that just crossed my mind again. He actually asked for the request to be released.
But see, we've been through this with Daniel Jones before, and he's been there for 4, going on 5, but I guess this is 5th year, isn't it? So it's not new. I
just had to ask the question.
Yeah, it's not new with him, and I'm actually glad they gave him the release because I think he just needs out of New York. And I don't know that he'll ever be a starter again. I do think he could be a solid backup, and maybe that's the role for him. After all, look, guys can make great careers being a solid backup because almost every team in the NFL has to play multiple quarterbacks.
And not just that, now you're basically keeping 3 on the roster with you.
So Daniel Jones, but I think he needed out of New York.
That's a monster.
The New York bubble
in.
is tough, and they'd obviously moved on from him, and he needed out. I'm glad they gave him the outright release. Good for him. Good for the Giants. They can cut ties, and the Giants obviously are going to be moving on. They're gonna draft a quarterback, whoever it ends up being. I personally don't think this quarterback class is very good.
No, if Jalen Milroe's being talked about as one of
he's probably 3.
Yeah, I mean, listen, no disrespect to him.
Right.
No disrespect to him at all.
I don't think any of them are true NFL quarterbacks. I think
Shedeur Sanders showed a side of himself that people have kind of wondered, is it there?
He's improved. I still don't see him as an NFL quarterback.
Well, that's what I'm saying is this last weekend against Kansas, whenever he took the hit and then he's kind of going after the guy and then puts his hands on the referee, I think he showed a side of him that a lot of people were kind of poking, that's there, that's there. And I was just it could be there, but so far he hasn't really shown that yet. Yeah, sometimes he can be a little, pompous, if you will.
The one who's the most mature and ready is Ward.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because he's older.
Yeah.
Shedeur reminds me a little bit of Caleb Williams in mentality.
Okay.
They're not the same physical kind of player.
I would say Shedeur Sanders is maybe a little bit more stronger.
Somewhat.
To a degree.
He can let himself get
Caleb's growing, though. Caleb's growing.
And look, they've done better with Sanders with getting him to do little dumps and be more accurate, but I don't know how he progresses through reads.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to do that in the NFL. Ward, to me, is the most ready of any of them, and I don't love him at the next level either.
Yeah.
I just think him being a little bit older, a little more seasoned will help him.
Well, and
we're seeing that with Jaden Daniels this year. I do think that age and maturity does help. When you're going to the NFL and you're expected to play right away.
Look at Bo Nix, man.
Sure.
Bo Nix
is 100.
Yeah, I mean, and he's done a really good job, and his teammates love him. And I think that's the most important thing. Obviously, you got to have the talent. You got to have the work ethic. You got to have the belief from your coaches, but you've got to be able to bring guys together instead of dividing the locker room.
The situation is the key. We saw it. Favre got drafted in Atlanta. It was terrible. Goes to Green Bay.
Boom.
Perfect. Bo Nix to Denver with that team and that feeling and nowhere to go but up, and having Sean Payton, perfect scenario for him, and he's taking the bull by the horns.
Taking your best and worst of the weekend right here on the Afternoon Underdogs. Text him in 850-215-6290 or call in with them. From Coach Olds, the best was the chaos that came from the SEC, and the worst was football is coming to an end. Coach Olds, don't be saying that. It is November. It's November. We know it's coming to an end.
College football's going to go to almost February.
I had that same feeling, though, when I was looking. I was like, man, it's rivalry week already. That kind of breaks my heart a little bit. He says it would be great for a 14-team playoff. Only top 2 get a bye. We'll have to see how it plays out because it does look like the 14-team college football playoff will be instituted for 2025. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Give me those best and worst, baby.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Rob made some unbelievable points. I disagree with both of you.
Reverse psychology. And I
reverse psychology.
Hey, you should have heard Glenn between breaks. He hates Florida. Not only that, he hates Florida fans. Fans, what?
That's going to be on your album, isn't it?
Weekday morning 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
Panama City Beach Winery. Since 2003, a unique award-winning wine tasting experience right here in Panama City Beach. Our wines are crafted 100% from premium fruit, citrus, and berries with no added sugars, flavorings, or grapes. Delivering the true flavors of tropical Florida in every bottle. Panama City Beach Winery proudly offers free wine tastings every day. Plus, you'll love the gift shop. Wine slushies and our private events are unforgettable. Panama City Beach Winery at the corner of Joan Avenue and Thomas Drive.
He listens to Post Malone. He drives a Honda with ground effects and has Pennsylvania tattooed on his right tricep.
Looking at a bad man.
David Hayes is part of the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Open up the champagne, pop. It's my house, come on.
What's going on? You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and this is ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes, along with Coach Brian Haddad. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Taking your calls or text 850-215-6290. Starting to finally kind of settle back into the saddle a little bit more there. Coverage tonight for the Ravens and the Chargers could be a really fun game tonight over there in SoFi Stadium. Coverage will start at 6:30 for a 7:15 kick tonight. What's your first initial reaction on this game between the Ravens and the Chargers this evening?
The Ravens need this game, I think, to get right after the kind of taste in their mouth from last week. Ravens been a pretty good team bouncing back, too. I would think they would take charge of this. Now, I need Herbert to throw for about 400 and something yards for one of my fantasy teams. But, no, I like the Ravens in this game. I think they're good at bouncing back from a loss, and I think they need this game. And smelling a little, blood in the water with Pittsburgh going down, that helps the Ravens are back in it. So I think they get this one done tonight.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been very impressive what we've seen from the Steelers this year, because I would say that out of all of the teams in the AFC North, they were the team who people were kind of overlooking, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's Russell Wilson and
they
Justin
were a question
Fields.
mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Browns, with the defense that they had last year, I think everyone was like, doesn't matter what quarterback you play if they had that same type of defense, and then the Ravens, obviously, with the addition of my guy, Derrick Henry, they were going to be one of the most dangerous teams in the league. And really, I mean, it's just for the Ravens, right? It's basically been the Chiefs and then AFC North teams that have beaten them. Steelers and the Browns, right?
Yeah.
It's been tough for them in that division, and the Steelers really have just now gotten into AFC North play. So we'll see how it all plays out.
That's
Cleveland Brad, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you took away from last Thursday night's game with Jameis Winston being ever the. He needs to be mic'd up every single game.
Is he back to being Cleveland Brad, or he was going to be Cavs Brad? I think for a while.
Right. Well,
but they won, so maybe he's back.
But they did lose to the old Celtics, though, right? So
you got to lose one.
You got to lose one, especially to the team who's probably going to repeat this year. I think they've got a lot of chips on their shoulder, but who knows? You never know how the basketball season is going to play out. We are taking your best and worst of the weekend, 850-215-6290. You can text them or call in at that same very number. We talked about the Cowboys and the Commanders, and then kind of started going all around the field. Do you think that the Commanders are going to miss the playoffs? These are one of the overreaction questions from ESPN, and basically the statement is the Commanders are going to miss the playoffs. Is that an overreaction, or is it right on par? I mean, it's tough to say without having the standings right up in front of you.
I'm looking at them now. The problem is going to be the NFC North.
Yeah.
because it's a very good division.
Lions,
and
Vikings.
they may get 3.
And we've got a question about that AFC North, especially the tandem up top there. What? That was the 3rd loss of the year for the Commanders, who started out so.
Well, no, the Commanders 7-5. Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. Right now, the wild cards look like what, Minnesota and Green Bay. And how many they do now? I can't remember. They do 7 total?
Yeah, 7 total.
So right now, the Commanders would be in the catbird seat for that spot by a game over the Cardinals or Seahawks, whoever. So right now, they've still got a good shot. I mean, look, every team in the NFC West is still alive. That's the thing. Everybody goes, the 49ers are done. They're not. They're one game out of the division.
Right.
So that's the closest, but they're in a pretty good spot. But if they don't make the playoffs, that game is the one they're going to look at and go, we should not have lost that football game.
Yeah. No, that's a great point, man. It's so tough because right now they're sitting in that number 7 spot, but as you mentioned...
They're only getting in as a 7.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to get in even as a 6, I don't think. I think it's going to be as a 7 or they're not in. So I'd say it's 50-50.
I will say, man, it's so tough because when they started out this year, not when they started out, but when you get 5 games into the season and they're beating teams that they shouldn't beat, and then they're whooping teams that they should beat, and so you're like, well, this is the sign of a good team. It's not the Saints, 2 games where they're scoring 40-something points. It's they were doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And so it stinks to say that they wouldn't make the playoffs, but as you mentioned right there, the Buccaneers are creeping back up into the sight of things, and that whoever's coming out of the NFC South is going to be coming out of the NFC South as the divisional winner. I don't think that they get multiple teams into the playoff. And the NFC North, as you mentioned, I mean, quite possibly, I don't even really think there's a big debate to be had. The NFC North is the toughest division in all of football now, right?
There's not a question.
Both of the Norths. It's almost like we go through this cycle. It's like one year it's both of the Easts, 1 year is both of the Souths.
It's like, I mean, I look at the Vikings and I'm like, I don't think they're all that good. And then you look at their record, they're 9-2.
Yeah. And they've beaten some quality teams, too.
The Packers are looking as good as anybody right now. They're 8-3. The Lions look unbeatable.
Yeah.
I mean, so, yeah, the North is really loaded. And to me, it's the NFC West.
Because they're all jumbled up.
They're all jumbled up.
5 and 6 is your bottom seed.
Right. So, right now, the Seahawks and the Cardinals are a half game behind the Commanders. The Rams and the 49ers have the same record as the Bucks. That's who's in it, really. Everybody else, I think, is too far back.
Do you think that the Bucs end up catching the Falcons and win the NFC South?
Based on what I've seen the last couple of weeks, I'd say yeah, but that's easy because the Falcons have dropped 2 and the Bucs, I mean, look, excuse me, the Bucs were playing the Giants, so who knows? But getting Evans back was good. So maybe, I mean, look, I love having a gritty guy like Baker Mayfield if I need to, steal a few on the way to try and make the playoffs. He's exactly the kind of quarterback you want for that. But I don't know. I'd probably need to look at everybody's remaining schedule to have a better feeling. I just think that if somebody pips the Commanders, they're going to come out of the West.
That's a great take there. And then the Vikings and the Lions, they play in Week 18. Do you think that decides who the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs are? Because when you're looking at it, you're looking at the standings. Lions sitting there at 10-1. Now the Eagles.
The Eagles are the ones to watch.
Ooh, boy! How about
the Eagles get home field? Watch out.
Yeah,
because I don't think Detroit and Jared Goff want to go to Philly to play that NFC Championship game. Assuming they do it, they want to be in that dome. So I think the Eagles are the ones to watch there. The Lions, they just keep doing what they're doing. I mean, because the thing the Lions have going for them now is I don't think anybody can score with them.
I don't think so.
It's crazy.
Jared Goff can throw 5 interceptions and still come away with a win on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, they've got so many weapons. So as long as they stay healthy and those weapons keep, producing, it's going to be hard for somebody to take the Lions out. So home field's going to be huge in the NFC. That's one thing for certain.
Yeah, it is, man. What are some of the other games that stood out to you yesterday? I mean, just amongst so many wonderful games that was this last weekend on I'm up on the wrong week right now on the scoreboard. I mean, how about the Vikings and the Bears, though? You know, we bring up how good the Vikings are, but Caleb Williams kind of played his tail off yesterday. 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not a great completion percentage per se, but he only threw 15 incompletions yesterday. And a coming out party to some extent for Jordan Addison yesterday with 8 receptions, 162 yards. But did it feel like the Bears gave it away? I mean, they got that onside kick. I think they just battled their way back into that game.
They're just a team that's not quite ready. You know, they're making some big plays. Keenan Allen he looked a little better this week. Caleb Williams is doing some things better. He still makes a few mistakes. And, you know, Eberflus still gets in his way occasionally. They're a team that they're almost there. They're just not ready yet. You know, but I think they've put the right pieces together. They add a couple more in free agency. Everybody kind of gets on the same page. You know, there was a little saber rattling earlier this year. It looks like that's calmed down. So I think the Bears are fine. I just don't. I think they're about a year or two away. I just don't think they're quite ready for the prime. And they're in the best division in football.
That's a great point. And a team who had a great afternoon yesterday and has started to get a little bit hot since they've gotten their quarterback back on the field. That's the Miami Dolphins. So
that's exactly where I was going next. Yeah. This is a team. They may be too far back. This team gets hot, look out. This is not a team you want to see if they get hot, because same thing. They might be the only guys who could score with the Lions.
And Jonnu Smith is a guy, when he was with the Tennessee Titans, and I believe he went to the Falcons after that, might have been the Patriots and the Falcons. Mm-hmm. He's always a receiver. His first year with the Titans, I'm like, this guy, why are we using these other guys?
Right.
Why are we even using these other guys? He's so good. His talent was, to an extent, wasted in Atlanta just because of trying to fit him in the same mesh as Kyle Pitts, not really having a good quarterback over there as well. His last, 3 weeks, he's been lethal with the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, and he fits perfectly because what's going to happen when you have the guys like Waddle and Hill, one can stretch the defense, one can run the deep slant. Jonnu can just go up the seam. He can, do a little button hook. It's always going to be open there for him. It's always going to be a mismatch for him when you've got Hill and Waddle doing what they're doing. So, and then, the running backs are great too. So, it's perfect. And him and Tua getting on kind of the same wavelength with things is going to be huge because he's going to be open, or at least in a mismatch more times than not. And, those kind of short slants and little underneath throws, Tua throws as good as anybody.
Yeah.
So,
which team out of the Bengals and the Cowboys are you more surprised that are sitting at 4-7? I think there's an easy answer here. But what is your thoughts?
Well, I'll be honest with you. It might surprise you. I think, to me, it's the Cowboys.
Okay.
I honestly thought – I didn't love their off-season, but I also didn't think the Commanders were going to be any good.
Right.
And I knew the Giants weren't going to be any good. So it was kind of like, well, they're in a somewhat easy division, and they should probably be 7-4 right now. The Bengals probably don't surprise me as much because they've always gotten off to slow starts. Now, they haven't been able to correct it yet, but I thought their division was going to be a little better. I didn't think the Steelers would be quite as good as they were, but I thought the Browns would be better.
Yeah.
And the Ravens are good, so I guess to me, it's the Cowboys. I'm shocked. Not so much they're 4-7. I'm shocked at how bad they look. They look worse than 4-7.
Yeah. No, they do. I think that they should have gone after a running back. I think that should have been their first. I don't think that Derrick Henry changes the complexion to a large extent.
They've still got players.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know Dak's out now and whatever, and Micah's been injured a bunch, but they still have players.
So Bengals at 4-7. We talked about the Dolphins being a stretch. How big of a stretch is it for the Bengals to make the playoffs at 4-7 right now?
It's hard because that extra game from them to the Dolphins is huge. Dolphins sitting at 5-6 now. That's going to be huge because let me pull up the standings in the AFC here real quick. But so you're going to have Buffalo and KC, and you're going to have Baltimore. You might get Pittsburgh taking the division there. Houston's going to come out of the South. The Chargers are sitting there at 7-3. I think you've got more quality teams with better records. The Broncos are 7-5.
I think with the Bengals or with the Broncos.
To me, the Dolphins having that extra game on the Bengals puts them somewhat in play, and it's going to be a hard slog for them. The
Dolphins are going to be.
The Bengals
playing,
have to run the table, basically.
Dolphins are playing Green Bay on Thanksgiving evening in Green Bay. We know it's going to be chilly. We know how the Dolphins do, so they could drop one there. And like AG just brought up, McPherson makes 4 field goals, and the Bengals are 8-3. Right, he makes that one at the end of overtime or before overtime rather against the Ravens. How does that game go? I mean,
but here's the problem:
Joe Burrow's playing his tail off.
In the AFC, you already have 7 teams with 7 wins.
Yeah.
So if you're the Bengals, you're already 3 games behind that with, 6 to go?
Yeah. It's tough.
There's too many teams there, and then you've got a few between you. So the Bengals, I don't think so. Not this year.
They need that college football chaos to amass in the National Football League. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Hour number 2 when we get back.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your home for the NFL.
Touchdown, Denver!
We bring you the biggest games every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night.
Oh, he's got the first down!
Plus, we'll broadcast more college football games than ever before.
He did what?
Live NFL and college football play here.
Unbelievable!
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. Tonight there will be a light breeze out of the southwest, partly cloudy skies, and 68. Some sun tomorrow morning, about the same at 75, and a wind out of the west-southwest around 7 miles per hour. In the afternoon and evening, partly cloudy and a gentle breeze right around 9 miles per hour with a high of 76. About the same at 74 Wednesday, and we'll have some sun. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Welcome to our 38-year anniversary at Alford Tire and Service Center, your local leader of automotive and tire service. Here at Alford Tire and Service Center, we do a full line of shocks, struts, brakes, AC repair, as well as being your authorized Goodyear and Michelin dealer. Let our friendly staff and skilled mechanics service your car or truck and get you back on the road in a timely fashion. Combined with easy financing, backed by our nationwide warranty, we've got you covered no matter where you go. Located on Tyndall Parkway in beautiful Callaway, we do it all at Alford Tire and Service Center.
Attention homeowners, are you dreaming of a backyard oasis? Look no further than S&R Fencing, your go-to destination for quality outdoor transformations. At S&R, they specialize in crafting custom fences, decks, retainer walls, and all exterior construction that not only enhances the beauty of your home, but also stands the test of time. Their experienced team takes pride in delivering top-notch craftsmanship with a personal touch. S&R Fencing, locally owned, licensed, and insured, and a member of the BBB.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likas with today's Car Clinic Minute. The old adage goes, you can't judge a book by its cover. But with repair shops, I beg to differ. There are ways to identify a professional service center and a little shop of horrors. When I come back, I'll tell you. On Valentine's Day, love might be blind, but at service shops, keep your eyes wide open. First, do some recon. Contact the Better Business Bureau and ask friends for report cards on shops that they use. Then call prospective shops. Are people responsive? If they don't have time for you now, imagine when there's a problem. Also, pay shops a visit. Look for a well-maintained organization and look out for a dirty, cluttered environment. Yes, to avoid heartbreak at repair time, initially judge service centers like other professionals by reputation, responsiveness, and self-respect. I'm Bobby Likas. Likas, you'll love us.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota. ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs, and we are still taking your calls and texts here at 850-215-6290. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad here. 850-215-6290. I'll try to bring up this Facebook post so we can possibly get to best and worst of the weekend. The problem is we don't even have a whole bunch of them. We still haven't got to any of them outside of the one that Coach Olds sent us this afternoon. So I'll try to go over here to the good old profile and see what we got. Oh, well, actually, I was wrong. We have a little bit more than what I guess I wasn't getting any notifications for these earlier. So let's dive into them then. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
All right. Mike Jones says Denver Broncos won, Auburn won, and Alabama lost. The worst. He just puts a few periods, ... There wasn't a bad one for him.
It's a good weekend for him.
Hey, I love that, man. And how about that Auburn game, man? What was your thoughts on the quadruple overtime thriller against the Ags?
I'm too old. I can't stay up that late anymore. I mean, they played like 5,000 overtimes, but I mean, exciting, obviously.
Yeah.
Look, Jordan-Hare at night it's not Baton Rouge at night, but it's pretty darn close. And like Saban said, spooky stuff happens there. That was a cool game. I had picked Auburn. I'm glad they pulled it out. Good for them.
Nobody sent me a pick 'em this week. Like, I always make sure everyone else has got the picks. No one sent me one.
I didn't think about that, but no, but I mean, good for Auburn. That's a big win for them. And look, they've got a chance. I mean, this is a team, based on what we saw with Oklahoma, they can run the football, and they need a win for bowl eligibility, so look out. But they are going to T-Town. So.
I was about to say, I would love to see them get bowl eligible, and then I thought about that one. Nah, never mind. I don't want you guys to be bowl eligible this year, maybe next year. Barrett says, best was Baker and Mike Evans are back, and we will make playoffs. Book it. He
Possibly.
says, book it.
Possibly. Got a good shot.
His worst was losing any fantasy football matchup to Jordan Willenborg, which is a buddy in one of our leagues. I'm sure that they're in a couple of other leagues as well. Nick Baldwin says, worst, that penalty call on the Ryan Williams touchdown Saturday night, which was a beautiful catch. Yeah. Not that it changes the game. And it could have changed the momentum. I just felt like Oklahoma, I mean, they were so amped up, they stormed the field twice.
Well, that's going to be one of my worst, guys.
At least wait till the clock hits zero.
Well, no, not even that. I get it. Okay? I was a college student 8,000 years ago. I get it. And look, most of y'all are running out there because you want to put a reaction video on YouTube and get more likes and followers as if that's real friends, whatever. We've got to stop storming the field for every single game.
Hey, listen, you might as well just...
Enough!
We just need to change Alabama's name from the Crimson Tide to the Stormtroopers, because anytime that people beat us,
97,
storm the field.
Alabama went 4-7, and they'd come off all these great years under Stallings, and like 6 teams rushed the field. I get that, whatever, but... It's happening all the time now.
Yeah.
It's happening in almost every... Auburn did it.
Was it Arizona State beating BYU?
Or whatever, yeah. I
think Arizona State beating BYU is like, BYU just lost last week. And it's like, BYU, come on.
You beat number 1, fine. Even that I don't like, because I don't like the safety issues and this, that, or the other. But come on, man. What's the old saying about the end zone? Act like you've been there before.
Yeah, but a lot of these teams haven't really been there before.
No, but I mean,
look, if you're beating like a team that's ranked anywhere from 9
to me, I've seen one worthy field rush this year. Vandy, Alabama.
That's
that
absolutely.
one.
I think there's more than that
one.
I don't like the Tennessee
40
Alabama.
years of futility.
Yeah, I'm with you on Vandy, Alabama.
I'm not sure there's another one I approve of.
Man, I love seeing it, though. I love seeing it. I hate all the things that can come with it. I don't like the early rushing.
Maybe Ole Miss, Texas. Maybe.
But that was Ole Miss rushing against Texas.
Yeah.
I just no, because you came into the season with expectations. If you came into the season with expectations, I don't think that you should storm the field.
But we're talking about, as I love to point out, Ole Miss has only been to Atlanta to play Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
They've never played for the SEC championship game. Mississippi State did once, so 1-0.
There you go.
But I guess I get it at least halfway in that one.
All right.
But,
so there's a smidge that,
When you're beating a team with 3 losses, come on.
Right, but again, I mean, you were just mentioning 1997, where Bama was,
Yeah, but most of those teams hadn't beat Bama in 20, 30 years.
That's fair. I can give you that.
Like Kentucky did it, and it was bad.
Kyle Wright says, best FSU, ? He says, nah, Fins.
41, baby.
Hey, there you go. He says, worst, Indiana didn't even show up. Kyle Wright then goes,
they showed up in the first half, but they just don't have the athletes to hang on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different ball game. It's a different ball game when you're, playing against 5 stars that turn into 4 stars that, at the very minimal, they're going to have 3 stars out there. And still, you can't take anything away from the season that Coach Sig and the Hoosiers have had this year, no doubt at all. And, I think they're still going to be in the college football playoff at this point in time, even though I was saying personally.
I think they were going to make it anyway. The SEC play this weekend guaranteed they're going to make it.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good point there. Kyle Wright says they should have stormed the field after beating Charleston Southern.
Well, maybe.
Ooh, doggy. Travis says best, Florida taking down Ole Miss. His worst, his fantasy team has sucked since week 7, 6 straight losses. Cleveland Brad says best, Buckeyes ending all the Indiana talk I've had to suffer through. Worst, can't think of anything, so I'm just going to go with the Indiana Hoosiers. Honestly, their 2020 team was better. I witnessed their 2020 team playing against Tennessee. I'm
still not sure Penix got in the end zone against Penn State in that game.
Max says special teams allotted for 21 points, and we held OSU on defense to their lowest yardage, but still gave up a ton of points. Max's best was Auburn game in 4 overtime, and worst, Stroud losing to the Tennessee Titans.
I'll tell you a game that was a really good game, and I knew it was going to be close. Penn State, Minnesota was a good football game to watch.
Yeah, I did not think that was going to be close.
Now, Minnesota's tough to play at home, and Penn State is a bit of a paper tiger.
Yeah, that's a very good point. They are a paper tiger.
Yeah, that was a fun game to watch. And Penn State I thought Franklin had done it again. I thought he had made a bad call again down the stretch, but it worked out for him this time.
Max says, I'll fight this guy. Penix absolutely got in. He said he absolutely got in. Oh, man.
Maybe by one dimple of a pigskin, but it was close.
All you need.
I'll tell you what, though, that's where I learned Michael Penix's name. I do remember that game, and it was huge for Indiana that year.
That was just a great year for Indiana. Period. They had a kid from Mosley and Raekwon Jones over there, so that was really awesome. Going to the Indiana-Tennessee game, that was like my second year working here, and being able to get on the field for a big bowl game was like,
that's one of the closest calls I've ever seen, because it seemed like every angle I saw something different. But
let's see, getting back to Facebook over here. Tim Reed says his best, his 10U boys won the Fall League Championship. And the worst for them, baseball season is officially over now. Tim Reed, I don't know if you're listening or not, but how many championships in a row is that for you and your boys over there at Lynn Haven Baseball? Bart says the worst is easy. Bama looked deflated the entire game against Oklahoma. I agree. Yep. No adjustments mentally. Agreed. Poor job on the motivation level. Agreed. Coaches and players that are in leadership roles. Also, I agree with you.
Look at it this way. It was a complete game.
There you go. You were consistent in it. Hey, I love it, especially at a time like this in my life. Like, I've always been that person who's silver linings, positive, all that good stuff. Right now, even more so. Take me to the moon. An opportunity to invest, or his best, an opportunity to investigate that crazy misalignment call. Why would that not be reviewable? Why was the flag thrown so late? Clearly the wrong call. Bama would have still lost, but that call deserves an answer. Are we talking about the Ryan Williams touchdown again?
I think it's got to be. And I'll be honest, look, I gave up on that game, so I don't even know.
Yeah, but all right, so if I'm not mistaken, the way that they were lined up,
that wasn't covered up?
Slot receiver was right here, and then you had two, and the slot receiver has to be covered up, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that if you've got 3 guys on this side, the inside guy has got to be covered up by the most outside wide receiver. But again, don't have the rule book in front of me. Ryan Warren, best. Saquon has career best outing and sets Eagles rushing record. How about, my goodness, dude, that guy, what he has, 255, 305 total yards. A lot of fun to watch play the game of football. He also says that sets the Eagles' rushing record. There was mayhem in college football, and the Noles finally got a dub. I wish we were hearing a lot more from the FSU fans. It's like, guys, we gave y'all hell for like 6-7 weeks straight. Come on with it, man. Tomorrow, I think when 420, y'all better call in and give Max some some grief.
I think when they looked at Charleston's record and saw they've lost to Lindenwood this year.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of like
Lindenwood High School. No,
it might have been. But I think it was just kind of, glad we won, but let's not jump up and down over this one.
The worst for Ryan Warren. This is a tough one. Eagles veteran pass rusher in his 15th and final season. Brandon Graham is out for the season after tearing his tricep Sunday night in that victory over the Rams, which was a good football game for a little bit. And then the Eagles just look like they have for the last 7 games, where they put their foot on your throat and you just kind of have to deal with it. Chef Ross says the best. The Packers finally beating the San Francisco 49ers, and the worst, the Badgers looked like a dumpster fire, and he forced himself to suffer through that game.
Yeah.
I don't even know who Wisconsin played. There was so much I
can't remember. I can't remember either, but...
Kyle Wright said getting to stomp on an NFL field for a high-profile bowl game was wild. Top 5 sports memory for him. I would say it's up there for me, too, man. Phil Fulmer stepped on my toe in the press conference after the game.
So wonder your toe didn't disintegrate.
I know. We've talked about that before. Yes, sir. He was. All right,
Phil Fulmer.
We got about 5 minutes here. We can go over some of the other games like Ohio State and Indiana. What about Colorado and Kansas? I mean, BYU.
How about Kansas?
I mean, how about them though? They took $660 from me last week.
They're 5-6. And they have wins over 3 ranked teams.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time it's happened.
Put them in the CFP.
No.
No.
And they got a quarterback named Jalen Daniels.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, Kansas had some expectations on them. I think they were kind of that second tier of teams that might battle for the Big 12 because Daniels is kind of dynamic. Good for them to do it back-to-back. I was a little worried they might have a bit of a letdown after such an emotional win over BYU. But, man, they came to play, and they gave Colorado everything. Like, every time Colorado would fire back, boom, Kansas hit them again. So I was pretty impressed with it, to be honest. I don't think they're a great football team, but
they're doing great things.
They've stepped up in their bigger moments this year. So, good for them. And you want to talk about chaos. Look at the Big 12. Arizona State's sitting on top of that conference right now.
How about for Army falling to Notre Dame? Not that that's a surprise, but I think there was a lot of people pulling for Army to kind of be that final G5 squad, and it just didn't play out like that. Notre Dame, though, we've seen them in the 4-team playoff before, in the 4-team field. Do we have a different feeling about this particular Notre Dame team?
It's hard to erase the Northern Illinois from your mind, but I don't think this is the same kind of Notre Dame team. I think Freeman, I like what he's doing. They don't have a whole lot of dynamic weapons other than Leonard, I think, is a good, solid quarterback. And defensively, they play pretty sound football. You would expect that under Freeman. It's kind of a different team, but they're athletic. I don't know. My worry with them is I don't know that, if they're going to hit, they might be able to win the first game. But if they're going to hit the upper echelon, I don't think they can score enough. I just haven't seen enough offense from them. I do like their poise. Like they've got a big win on the road in College Station. I like all that. I just think against the best of the best, I'm not sure they can put up enough points. But I do think Marcus Freeman's done an excellent job there.
Yeah. No, he
just had that one blip.
I mean, well, I wouldn't say absolutely has, but he has done a good job there. And obviously he's retaining his job. And, if you're a Notre Dame fan after that NIU loss, you've got to be really excited about where your team is headed, because I don't think that there's anything that can stop them from getting out of the from being outside of the college football
Pretty
playoff.
much at this point they're in.
But then they could have a NIU experience. I mean, I'll say this, man, losing to Oklahoma 24-3 is almost worse than losing to NIU. My goodness gracious.
The interesting thing to me is how they really can't be a part of the top 4 seeds, but Boise can.
Yeah.
Like, that's interesting. I get it. Look, they should join a conference.
Join a conference.
I get it. It just seems, it's just a little weird. But there's a lot weird this year.
There's a lot weird, but again, I think that's one of those things. If you're,
I'm glad they're holding to it.
Right. Yeah, that's a truth too. But my thing is, if you're a team who can make pretty much any schedule that you want outside of scheduling 5 ACC
and they're not going to
teams,
have the extra game.
Yeah.
So
they don't have they
right.
can't play 13 games. I think that you should be at somewhat of a disadvantage.
Fair.
However, I'll sit here and say this. If you're 5, 6, 7, or 8, you're hosting a college football playoff game, and that is something no one else has been able to do in the history of this, and that is going to be huge for your university, huge for your recruiting, and it's huge for everything.
Unless you're playing Kentucky or Missouri, typically speaking, SEC teams do not play in cold weather.
Yeah.
This late in the year. They just don't. So that's going to be a big deal if you've got to go to Notre Dame, if you've got to go to Ohio State, if you've got to go to these Big Ten teams in December. That's a big deal if you're used to be playing in 70, 75 degree weather down here in the South. So getting those buys is going to, and not the buys, but getting the home games is going to be a lot bigger deal than maybe a lot of people are giving it credit for, especially if the Big Ten teams are getting them.
Brent on Facebook says Ryan Williams to Ohio State for best sophomore class ever. Do you think Ryan Williams possibly?
There's been some scuttle that he's looking to maximize his money.
NIL, yeah.
And I don't blame him. I mean, look, I don't like the system. It doesn't mean you shouldn't use it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
To your advantage, and he's obviously going to be one of the most sought-after wide receivers out there with the kid at Ohio State and with Cam Coleman, who's kind of hit the scene. But I don't see him going to Ohio State.
That would be so wild if he did, though, because he'd be over there with Julian Sayin.
Sure.
You'd have Quinshawn and Travion are probably gone after this point, but, I mean, he's over there with Jeremiah Smith, I believe, is the other one. They would be.
There's just a million. There's a million things that are going to happen between now and then. But to me, he seems like a guy who wants to stay in Alabama. So
and that's where he was originally committed.
Well, he was going to Alabama, then to Auburn, then to Alabama, then to Auburn, then back to Alabama.
That's a lot of flipping to do, man.
Yeah, but no, what I've heard isn't so much he wants to leave; it's that he wants to maximize his NIL. And I don't think if it comes down to it, Alabama will get outbid. So we'll see.
But Auburn's got old Yellowwood over there, so
Alabama's got money.
Alabama's got money, and in fact, every big brand school at this state of the game, this place of the game, has money. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. Coverage starting for Monday Night Football tonight at 6:30 for a 7:15 kick. So make sure you keep it locked in here after the Afternoon Underdogs. We're about to get a takeover going on, the PCB Hobby Takeover. We'll be right back.
Weather in the Panhandle never stops. Turn to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast.
We're up to the minute weather reports all day long.
A chance of thunderstorms and moderate rain.
In-depth storm coverage.
Hurricane Helene.
And breaking weather as it happens.
We do have a tropical storm warning.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. Tonight there will be a light breeze out of the southwest, partly cloudy skies, and 68. Some sun tomorrow morning, about the same at 75, and a wind out of the west-southwest around 7 miles per hour. In the afternoon and evening, partly cloudy and a gentle breeze right around 9 miles per hour with a high of 76. About the same at 74 Wednesday, and we'll have some sun. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Golf is a game that should be fun, but to have the most fun, you need to play your best. That's where the experts at Golf Plus come in. Their friendly staff will guide you through the buying process, answer all your questions, and can help with any repairs you need along the way. Golf Plus is your custom fitting, club repair, and golf retail shop. Golf Plus staff is non-commissioned and will work with you to find the best product for your game, just like they've been doing since 1988. Golf Plus in Dothan and Panama City Beach. Fitting, repair, retail. That's Golf Plus.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. Now, the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. You're right along with the Afternoon Underdogs. Tuned in here to ESPN Northwest Florida. And Brian, while I get these mics...
Just pipe that song into my headphones.
There you go.
Just keep it there.
Sing it for us. But while I'm getting these mics and these cameras set up, introduce us to our next great guest.
It's Monday, so it's time for the PCB Hobby Takeover with Julia and some guy she found on the street.
Happy Monday. What's going on, everybody? We're here. We're rocking. It's been a busy week and last week for sure, but we have Thanksgiving upon us. First of all, I want to say everybody be careful out there for Thanksgiving and the holiday season. A lot of you are going to be off. A lot of you are going to be traveling, so be careful. Other than that, we have a ton of Black Friday deals coming at you. We're also going to do some streaming on Thanksgiving as well. So if you got nothing to do, you've eaten all your turkey, you're tired of your family, fire up eBay Live and check out our streams. We're going to do comics at 11, I believe somewhere around 11, 12, 10, I don't know, somewhere around there. We'll do TCGs as well. Coin stream at 6 in the evening, I believe, and no sports cards on Thursday. But we got a bunch going on, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to have all kinds of deals. If you're looking for some holiday issue comic books, we will have a ton of that
very cool.
On Thursday. And, of course, all the newest TCG stuff is going to be rocking and rolling. So we hired a couple people. I'm pretty excited about that. We have a manager of the comics division now, and we also hired a TCG streamer, and he knows a lot about Magic and Pokemon. His name is Justin. So pretty excited about that. In fact, he's probably streaming right now.
There you go.
So anyway, of course, most notable, the store. The store, we're going to have all kinds of deals, steals, and everything. So I'm going to let Julia talk about that.
Yeah, we're going to have insane sales all week. Black Friday sales all week. So we have some doorbusters on Friday itself, but all week for sports cards, we're doing $5 off blasters and megas, BOGO dollar box singles, $10 off hockey and soccer hobby boxes, and that's just sports cards.
Yeah.
There is so many sales. So if you're interested in those, come by the shop, check them out on our Instagram and Facebook. We have them all listed there. But this week, Thursday, our shop is going to be closed for Thanksgiving. So of course, our organized play is going to be canceled that day. But Friday we resume playing Magic at 6 p.m. And Saturday is our free play, and Sunday is Pokemon. And all of that organized play is run by one of our TCG guys at the shop, Theron. He's great. And if you don't know how to play, there are so many people there that will help you learn if you're interested. So it's a really great time. And our website calendar just got updated. So if you're not sure when anything starts or you just want some more details, you can definitely go ahead and check out our website. It's going to be www.pcbhobby.com. Also in the line of streaming, Friday we are having a vintage Pokemon stream. We are ripping Jungle Unlimited, a box of that. And so we're kind of doing it a fun way where we're selling each pack ahead of time as like a buy it now on eBay. And so you can buy it and they're going to rip it on stream after you purchase it. So it's a really, really old set. So going to be awesome.
It's very valuable. There, I believe we're $260 a pack.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, and there's, I believe, 30 packs in the box. So, or 35, I can't remember. But yeah, they're going to be ripping all that.
And I think this is the first time we've done that.
For eBay Live.
Right. So it's going to be super cool. So go check us out for that on eBay Live. And we're at PCB Hobby. Thanksgiving streams, make sure to check those out. And just stay tuned on our Instagram and Facebook. That's at PCB Hobby.
Oh, very cool.
All right, sweet. Any new products coming out this week, Brian?
It's a big week. I mean, you would think with a holiday week it wouldn't be that big, but a couple of big ones hitting this week. Bowman Chrome University football hits this week. That's the college football product. We've been talking so much college football in here today. So there's a lot going out. Your favorite Alabama Stars, Auburn Stars, Ohio State, all of that. Fully licensed. That hits on Wednesday. And they're doing a lot of different formats this year. It used to just be Hobby and Blaster. Now they're doing Jumbo. They're doing Hobby. They're doing Megas. They're doing Blasters. They're doing a million Breakers.
I think they're even doing Breakers, right?
Yeah, so they're doing a lot of different formats. And Mosaic football hits this week. So 2024 football, one of the big core four, as they say. That hits this week, so chance to chase, Jaden Daniels and all the Bo Nix, all the new quarterbacks is going to be out as well. And then next Wednesday, Bowman Draft hits. That's where all the baseball draft picks, Jack Caglianone, for you Florida fans out there, that'll be his first Bowman coming out, and that'll be next Wednesday. So WWE 3 counts coming out in a week. There's all kind of different products across all the different sports. We're only about a month away from the new season basketball coming with hoops.
Right.
So this is a great time of year. A lot of products dropping and a lot of great products dropping just in time for the holidays.
I saw, in fact, today a couple emails. I think they loaded National Treasures for us, and they also loaded Prism Football.
Yes, Prism Football is coming. It's going to be in December. Right. Haven't seen the exact date yet, and with Panini, you never know for sure. But Prism Football is the king of the core four, and it's...
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's a heck of a time of year. They're starting to get this stuff out a little bit sooner than they were, which is really, really exciting. But of course, it's still all about Chrome Update with baseball. I mean, those boxes have exploded. We ran through our first allotment of every different level. We've got our second allotment of Hobby and Jumbo in, and they're flying. I think we sold 5 Jumbos today. They're flying off the shelves, and because the hunt for those debut patches, Ellie De La Cruz has been hit. All the other big top 5 or 6
hasn't been hit yet.
Skeens is still out there. Holiday, Langford, Carter, Dominguez,
guys, it's
Merrill.
Time to buy.
They're all still there, and it's been so much fun. They're great cards. People are hitting just really cool stuff.
That's awesome.
And then singles, we picked up a Paul Skeens autograph rookie auto in the shop. Got Kevin Durant autos, James Harden.
Had some vintage show up the other day, too, vintage PSA.
Yeah, and 5 of them are gone.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
But we do actually, for those of you Mickey Mantle collectors, we've got a 1956 grayback that just came in, PSA 2.5, which is really good for that one, and the grayback is very desired. So that one just came in from PSA. So a lot of fun stuff there to look at, and like I said, make great stocking stuffers.
We have a lot of coin inventory over there too. We've got a lot of silver, and we've got some gold. I noticed in the case on Saturday. We also had Friday night. We had on the comic stream, we had an artist in-house. We had Dave Dorman. So that was a lot of fun. He did a great job, a fantastic job. Everybody really enjoyed it. We have a lot of his stuff, his signed books, still in inventory now. He signed a bunch for us before he left on Saturday, and we got to take him to the shop on Saturday. Yeah. So for you Magic people out there who like Magic the Gathering, he's an old school Magic the Gathering artist and has many cards out there. I think it was 120 cards and he was with Hasbro. And he was with Hasbro when he did that. Right. So just take note that we're probably going to have him back in January, and we'll do something at the shop probably with that, but we haven't started promoting that yet. We'll get the dates locked down and let everybody know. So that's pretty exciting. Also, I wanted to tell everybody about Black Friday. Black Friday is going to be a blowout on the comic stream. We've got so much inventory, it's not even funny. And so it's going to be crazy. We're going to start off with Bill and I probably during the day, and then it'll go to Big Kern on the evening time. So save up your money this week. Let's go.
No, it's certainly going to be something else. I mean, the shop, what's been fun is, I know across everything there's different holiday themed stuff. Like always, we talked about, I think last week, Topps baseball holiday megas are out.
Mm-hmm. And they have a calendar too, right?
Advent calendar sold out in less than a day.
Oh, I had people messaging me about it.
And
so
don't get me
much.
wrong, the box is as big as I am. I mean, it's a huge box.
Yeah,
but
it was a huge
really
box.
cool.
I saw it on Saturday.
It was really cool. But yeah, those went out. We're trying to get some more of those. I don't know how many more they're going to make available. But the holiday megas have been really fun this year. They do all the kind of cool inserts where, they'll have the guys in the Santa hats or with the candy cane bats and things. And those are short printed cards and they're worth money.
And stuff like that.
So yeah, it's very holiday themed. That's like perfect, like little, and they're very affordable. Like I think they're like $35, $40, something like that. Great stocking stuffers, something we talked about it last week, Todd. You open a present, and then you get to open more presents when you get packs.
Yeah,
so
that was awesome.
Very cool stuff, certainly there.
And we also have gift certificates. If you're not sure what to get and you're buying for someone, then that would be a great gift too, because they get to pick out.
Yeah, and remember the gift certificates are good for anything across the board at the shop. And remember, we carry sports cards, we carry TCGs, which is trading card games like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, One Piece, and things like that. And then of course coins and comics. So you can use that gift certificate for a multitude of things in the shop.
Let me put this out to people too, because in the shop I've noticed this, a couple people lately, and I mean it makes sense. They're coming in and selling kind of some of their old, sports cards or some of their old TCG stuff because they're looking for money to buy Christmas gifts and things like that. And it's a wonderful way to come in and do that. Or they're using it to trade for Christmas gifts they're picking up for people. So, we are, still buying and looking at collections, looking at gold and silver, coins, all of that.
If you have extra stuff that you want to get rid of and so get some Christmas money together, some Christmas cash, let us know. I mean, we're buying all the time.
And speaking of store credit, Topps brought back their MVP buyback.
Yes, they did.
They did. So here's kind of how it works. You can collect the MVP cards from 2024 Topps Chrome. You just bring your cards in the shop and you get to redeem them for store credit. So based on the card, like base cards, refractors, numbers, it's different amounts of credit. But yeah, so that's a great way to earn
it's
store
based
credit.
off the MVP. So
Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've had a slew of them come into the shop. And look, it's the best thing in the world because these are typically, like say the base card of Aaron Judge. That's a $1 to at most $3 base card. You're getting $20 in store credit for that card, which is outstanding. You never get that kind of return on a base card like that. Same thing for Shohei Ohtani. So, it's a wonderful program, and a lot of people use it to get these new boxes that are coming, Draft and Bowman Chrome U and things like that. So it's really, really cool.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. So what kind of questions does everybody have today? Has anybody chimed in? Anybody need to know anything cool?
I haven't seen anything. We were talking about holiday themed stuff. So let me pitch this out there to you. You mentioned the holiday themed covers with comic books.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, is that something that has always been around, or has it become more prominent lately?
It's become more prominent. So a lot of things have become character-based in comic books and themed-based. So they do such things as connected covers, where they have two different covers, but they actually connect if you put them side by side, and they connect and make a larger picture. So that's one thing. They also do a thing called a wraparound cover, where the front wraps around and the image is also on the back. So the whole image is if you open the book up, the whole image is the back and the front together. So that's called a wraparound. Well, in that jest, they've basically said, let's make some themed different stuff too. So they might theme something Halloween, or they might theme something holiday issue. And believe it or not, people are asking like crazy on the stream right now for holiday issues. And we're telling everybody, wait till Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving Day at 11 a.m. we'll start selling the themed issues of holiday. And it's anything from Santa to just a Christmas scene, the Ninja Turtles and, with Santa hats on, stuff like that. It's just all theme based for holidays. We also have graded ones where we've sent them off, had them graded, and they're encapsulated in the hard plastic, just like sports cards get graded. We have comic graded ones too that are holiday issues. So we'll have a whole slew of different stuff.
So when they have like the holiday themed covers, does that correlate with the story inside, or is it just like...
A lot of times it does not correlate with the story inside. However, sometimes it does, number one. And then number two, sometimes the theme books themselves do mean something. It's a time of year or a time frame or something like that. So it just depends. You really actually kind of have to open the book and look. But remember, all these are what we call variant covers. Yeah. And so it's a variant of cover A. So you can have cover A, the story inside of it is the story. Cover B might be the holiday variant. It's the same story inside.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who don't collect all the variants. They only want to read the story, so they only just get cover A or one of the covers, and they read the story, right? But then there's people who say, well, I not only like to read the story, but I also want all the covers that were put out by this exact series and number. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 was around the holiday or Halloween, so I want the Halloween variant as well as I want the cover A, as well as I want this other variant and this other variant, and they collect all of them. So it just depends on how you want to collect, basically, but a lot of times the theme does not add up to the story itself.
You know what I've noticed more in comics than with sports cards and things? Although sports cards, people will, collect multiples sometimes of their favorite player or whatever, but with comics, I see this a lot with new comics. They'll buy 2 copies when it comes out, one to read and then one to kind of put away and keep in kind of pristine condition. Is that something that is just...
That's a thing.
Okay.
That's a thing. And what that thing is, there's 2 ways about it. Some people like a graded version, right? And a 9.8 or a 9.9, graded one, high grade, an investment piece. Versus they also want to read one of them. So what Sharon came up with was what we call a reader copy. So a lot of times we'll sell a slab with a reader copy. Okay. We'll sell the slab itself, the 9.8 whatever slab, whatever book, and the same book we have raw. We slide it in the back of the package.
Oh, very cool.
And you get to read the book as well as not only have the investment piece that you're purchasing.
And I love when they get like kind of damaged copies in, because then I get to read them.
Right, that's it, and that's what you do. You give out, or you put a reader copy with something or whatever when you get damages and stuff. And we get damages all the time. I mean, shipping's not perfect, obviously.
Sure.
So we do the best that we can. But we're really amping up our graded stuff for comics. We've got a big inventory coming in. We submitted a lot in New York, especially signature series, which means it's signed by the artist or the story creator, or sometimes dual signed and triple signed by multiple creators of a story and the artist. So it's very cool. There's a lot of really cool stuff. But trading cards, you can't miss that too. There's a lot of good singles. We just started running on eBay singles for trading card games. Dollar auction starts, actually.
Wow.
And that's been going really well. People have been really picking up a lot of really cool cards for $3, $4, $5 a card, which is amazing. And it's free shipping. Yeah. That's the thing that we do.
That's huge.
We always do free shipping on every single one of our streams. We have 4 streams going most of the time during the day. So whatever you're buying, and you can jump from stream to stream and buy several different things from each stream, and that'll all get packaged together and go together. So it's very cool. So we got a lot going on with that, and it's been great. So
busy week. Shop is closed on Thursday, but big deals going on, and then Black Friday. I mean, it's even too many to mention. So
it is.
Where do they go to check those out again?
Yeah, so you can check out our Instagram or Facebook at PCB Hobby. And we have all those sale details. We have all the doorbusters, which I didn't read off because, it's so many. So many. And the doorbusters are limited quantities, so you want to get there early. We open at 10. So
10 to 6, Sunday 12 to 6. And Todd, where can they find it?
11939 Panama City Beach Parkway. That's on Back Beach in Panama City Beach, next to Florida Linens. Florida Linens. And you can also give us a call if you're looking for anything. We can try to set it aside for you. 850-320-8388.
Exciting times.
People bad with directions. Once you get across Alf Coleman and you get to that daggum 35-mile-an-hour zone, just on your left, that's PCB.
That's good. It slows you down. That way you don't blow by it.
Miss it. Yeah.
That's a fact.
No truth to the fact that we put that up.
Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate it. Hopefully everybody, again, has a wonderful holiday season. We'll see you next Monday.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Well, y'all have a great Thanksgiving. Again, Todd and Julia, thank you so much for stopping by. And y'all go check out PCB Hobby Friday for sure, but also Saturday and Sunday they will be closed on Thanksgiving. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. That was the PCB Hobby Takeover. We'll be right back.
The next evolution in sports talk radio. We're back! We're back! On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. The Afternoon Underdogs. The only live afternoon show in Panama City where you can win fantastic prizes from amazing local businesses every day.
That's right.
4 to 6 weekdays. The Afternoon Underdogs.
It's mayhem.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control. They take pride in caring for their customers' property by providing lawn and whole house pest control. Whether you have roaches or any other unwanted bugs in your home, Turf Pro has you covered. Or if your lawn needs weed control, fertilize, insect control, Turf Pro has you covered by providing custom treatments to meet your property's needs. No property is the same, so why should it be treated that way? Turf Pro, where the blue and yellow trucks make your lawn green. Call 850-890-5820.
Are you looking for a place to take a leak? Do you have a truck, tractor, or other hydraulic equipment leaking or not performing as it should? At Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, we can get you back to work. Do you have a busted or leaking hose? Hydraulic cylinder or pump needing repair? If competitive pricing and a quick turnaround are what matter to your business, come see us at Reliable Hydraulic Solutions. Or you can give us a call at 850-326-3000. Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, 6840 Highway 77 in Southport. The best place in town to take a leak.
Brace yourself and strap in for the ultimate adrenaline rush.
It's showtime.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
A little jump ahead there. Wasn't much of a slow ride after all.
No, we got to speed it up every now and again. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. And this is ESPN Northwest Florida. Just a few more minutes to get your best and worst of the weekend in. You want to do ours real quick here before we get on out of here, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, we've been through several of mine, but yeah, why don't you start us off? I got some.
I'm going to come swing off the hip here. Let's see. My best would be... Oh, man. I'm going to have to say I'll go two ways. The punt return from Cavante Turpin. that was one of the best of the weekend.
It's the most ridiculous spin move in history.
He's the fastest man in the NFL. That was the fastest spin move.
It was cool. It was a great spin move. Just wasn't around anybody.
Well, but see, the thing is, if he didn't do that, though, then he probably run straight into that.
I'm telling you what happened. Those guys were running, and they went, what is this dude doing?
Yeah. And he caught him off guard. And then
it worked.
Him gone.
Genius.
And then my other one would be the performance from Saquon Barkley last night against the Rams, for him to put up over 255 yards, career high for him, record breaking for Philadelphia Eagles, and just kind of putting him, him and Derrick Henry are putting the running back class on their back and saying, hey, maybe running backs do deserve more money and more notice in the National Football League. My worst would be the performance by far, just as every Alabama fan has brought up, the performance as a whole from the Crimson Tide on a day where I'm not saying you should have cruised to victory, even though I'm saying you should have cruised to victory in that game, looking on it on paper. It's every time that Alabama this year has been solidified to be in the college football playoff, they've fallen. And then when they need a win to get back in, they're like, look how, my goodness gracious, do y'all not see the Alabama Crimson Tide? And then the next week, my goodness gracious, is that the same team? They are the most, I would say, one of the most, if not the most, Jekyll and Hyde teams of this year. So I would say that would be, above all, my worst.
I'm going to give two bests here. I'm going to say number one, Kansas, for back-to-back weeks, annihilating the Big 12 and making it more, chaos-ridden than the SEC right now. So, but seriously, taking out BYU and Colorado in back-to-back weeks, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So good for them, because they could have packed it in when they were sitting at 3-6.
Easily.
But good for them, and that's huge. Another best I'll say is, and best because it worked out, the fake punt execution in the Penn State-Minnesota game. If you haven't seen them play, it's pretty well done. I mean, he goes to punt it and, like, puts the ball behind his back, basically. And everybody's afraid of going straight on because they're afraid of hitting the punter, so they all go at an angle. He goes and runs the other angle and basically seals the game. So that was a cool design play for Franklin. Thank God it worked, because normally it'd be the kind that would sink him. I have two worst. Number one would be the fact that all of the area teams are unfortunately done.
Yeah, I haven't even been able to talk about that, really. I haven't been back on the air since Mosley lost.
So many teams.
Yeah, 5 teams,
By the way, you did another fantastic job calling that playoff game, because I could, in my mind's eye, so I'm listening to you, I was afraid you were going to jump out of the booth when Mosley started coming back, like the excitement in your voice when LoJack strips the ball. I mean, it was, and then busts the run, and they got, a yard or two short. But you did a wonderful job calling that game. I mean, you made that game come to life, for somebody who wasn't there.
I feel like I was dead in that stadium for a little while.
But that's all you can. I thought you did a great job with that.
I appreciate that.
But we had so many teams in the playoffs, which was great. I wish we could have gotten one or two to keep
at least
going.
Mariana, come on, man.
Yeah, well, now we'll get into the whole seedings again at some other point.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Here's my other one.
Yeah.
And we've hinted at it, but it drives me nuts. And look, I understand we're talking about kids. And the fact that we're broadcasting kids' first real big decision of their lives, I hate. But this from week to week decommitment nonsense is just driving me insane. It's making these people look so fickle.
Yeah.
All it does is make, fans go, I mean, I'm going to get in a foxhole with this guy. He changes my. I mean, it's unfair to the kids that it's
because
so
at 16,
broadcast.
17, 18, your mind's fickle anyway.
It's unfortunate that we're teaching kids the word commitment doesn't mean anything. The whole system.
Well, look at relationships.
But the whole system is just rife for bad development. And that's what bothers me as somebody who spent so much of my life trying to develop young people. And I can't stand it from week to week. And it just, we lost a game this week, so now all our recruits are going somewhere else. It just drives me insane. I can't stand it.
This wouldn't happen because websites depend on clicks, right?
Sure.
And so when they're putting these commitments up, they're getting clicks, they're driving, they're engaging discussion, all of that stuff. But what if, like, the NCAA came out and made it a thing where, and obviously they won't, this is a hypothetical here, but what if they came out and said, until you make a commitment and you sign the LOI, which is not even a thing anymore,
you're basically your scholarship arrangement.
Yeah, exactly. Until you sign that, we're not even going to do any covering of that. Obviously, it won't happen because 24/7, all these other things.
I was going to say the NCAA's not covering it.
Yeah, that's true. It's not.
That's like saying 10 years ago we're not going to allow any
the NCAA
any
came out,
benefits.
Well,
that never happened.
I mean, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do about it.
There's nothing you can do.
Trying to hypothesize,
and that's why I hate it, because I don't think it's conducive for anybody's development. I think it's just bad, and whatever. It's not me being a get off my lawn. I'm that most of the time anyway.
Right.
But this is just bad development for people, and I don't like it.
No, I think that's a great point. LSU Jeff, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. What's going on?
Well, I'm going to go with Brian about there's no loyalty to colleges like that. Like the kid.
Loyalty to the bag, baby.
Well, the guy that was in Belleville, which is 18 miles from Ann Arbor, the guy was considering going to LSU.
Oh, yeah. And then $10 million from Dave Portnoy flipped him back to Michigan.
Yeah, 10.5. But
taxes, baby.
If he stays there for 4 years, but the chances are of him, transferring is a good chance, because sure, he's a big guy, but he's going to fumble the ball because he didn't hold the ball close to his body, and he sits in the pocket for too long, so he's going to get sacked. So
you're glad he's not going to LSU then?
I'm glad he's not going to LSU, because I think he's going to complete flop. And just because he's 6'5" and 230, whatever. There's a lot of prototype people like Jamarcus Russell, whatever.
Right? From my hometown,
Jamarcus Russell, right?
Yeah.
So, but wait a minute, let me tell you what. There's no college loyalty. Like, that kid grew up 18 miles from Ann Arbor. To even consider anybody else is a little crazy.
Sure.
But no, let me tell you. You want to hear a "get off my lawn" statement?
Okay.
killing rivalries. Like Kansas and Kansas State doesn't even play this week. Kansas is playing Baylor. That's not a rivalry. LSU is now relegated over to Oklahoma because nobody will take Oklahoma.
That's not a rivalry.
That's not a rivalry.
It used to be like the only Friday game was LSU Arkansas.
Yeah.
I loved watching that Thanksgiving. But I hate Friday games in general, but I liked that one.
Who do they have Arkansas playing? Missouri?
Missouri.
Oh, my gosh. So it should be Missouri and Oklahoma, like the redheaded stepchilds of the SEC, and then LSU and Arkansas get the battle.
Well, not only that, but they played forever in the Big 12,
right.
Big 8 before that.
I agree. I don't think, and especially LSU is a prized possession of the SEC, so they should kind of, and maybe.
Whatever, go on.
Well,
Brian's rolling his eyes.
No. I mean, they are.
Like,
they are. I roll my eyes if it was Tennessee.
Yeah, but I mean, still though, they are like. I'm not saying that as an Alabama fan. I'm saying it when we're looking at the SEC. They're one of the teams that have helped the SEC continue to keep that championship with the SEC, right? So with that, if I'm Greg Sankey and the SEC commissioner, then the other way that I look at it, to play devil's advocate, is they do expect Oklahoma to come over to the SEC. Maybe not first year. Obviously, they haven't shown it, but they did take down the Tide, so there is that. But maybe they're expecting this rivalry to bloom between LSU and Oklahoma.
Yeah, I guess. But, I mean, we did play a national championship in 2003 when Nick Saban was coach. And that's the only time I could ever think of playing them, really. Yeah. You know what's funny is just last week I just said all this SEC chaos, and Texas and Oklahoma is not even in on the action, and then Oklahoma steps in on the action.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, bud.
Well, I mean, I didn't see that happen. I saw Ole Miss losing in Florida. I did call that, but I definitely did not call Auburn over A&M, and I definitely did not call Oklahoma over Alabama. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
that's just crazy. And you know what? The three loss team that says is going to slip into the playoffs is now going to happen.
Which team is that?
Well, and there's a couple of ifs in here. If South Carolina beats Clemson, South Carolina is going to be the 11 or 12 seed. And then, let's see, what was the other one? If Clemson loses, Clemson loses to South Carolina, and then they beat, who is it, SMU in the ACC championship?
But if Clemson...
They're a three-loss team.
I'll go you one better. Whoever wins the Big 12 might have 3 losses at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're not done.
No, I don't think we're done at all.
No, we're not.
Do we think that the conference championship games still continue to change the complexion of the college football playoff?
No, because it ends next year. You know why? It's only 2 teams are getting buys. And I'm not sure how the automatic bids are happening next year.
Well, no, I'm saying this year, like this year when we get to the conference championship games, and you're looking at your 12 teams, but then there's still some shuffling that could be done quite possibly because of the conference championship game.
You can have shuffling, but here's the thing. I think because they raised the issue so publicly so early, I don't think you have a likelihood of a scenario where a Georgia gets bumped out if they lose.
They would just essentially flip-flop with their next closest counterpart.
Look, the presidents want to keep that game, and so they're going to protect that game at all costs. So I think they will take care of. Look, if you're the ACC and you lose, you're not getting in. But the SEC and the Big Ten, whoever loses that championship game, I guarantee you will make the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, I see Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas in.
I think that's probably right.
Looks like it, but the 4th team is the question mark. And then I'm looking at the seedings, and like, let's say Ohio State loses to Oregon in the Big Ten championship. They're still going to pull that 5 seed, and Notre Dame's probably going to be that 6 seed. And that's about the only thing we can really say for sure right now. I mean, other than Oregon being maybe number 1 if they.
If Oregon wins the Big Ten, they're going to be number 1.
I think almost every home game that first week is being played in the North. I think Ohio State's hosting, I think Penn State's hosting, and I think Notre Dame's hosting.
That would be a lot of fun.
Okay, so what if Georgia beats the heck out of Tennessee?
Then they'll
Georgia
get the
Tech,
4th one.
And they might be an 8 seed.
Yeah.
So they would be
I don't think Georgia. Well, I mean, if Georgia beats Texas, obviously they move up to 2 or 3 probably 2 or 3.
Yeah,
probably.
But
if they lose, they could be an 8. They could host the game.
I think the SEC will get the 4th of those. But I think it's going to be that. So the teams that are going to be on the road are going to be the Big 12 champ. You've got Tennessee in this scenario, and Indiana, and then whoever that last team is, which is either going to be the 4th SEC team or the 2nd ACC team.
Yeah. Oh, so Penn State's going to host at number 7 or 8. You're saying?
Yeah, that would be the top.
I think
5, 6, 7,
and Boise's going to.
But they
Ohio
might
State
be
or
1, 2, 3, or 4. Well, they won't be 1.
No,
but.
Boise, it will be number 4, supposedly.
LSU Jeff, thanks so much for the call, my friend. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks, guys.
You've been riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Paul Feinbaum is coming up next, and then we'll get you to the coverage of Monday Night Football. Coverage starts at 6:30. Just remember, Jesus loves you, so do I, and
Titans are on a winning streak.
Set your alarm clock to wake up with the Coach Hales Show on ESPN Northwest Florida. In-depth local and college sports from expert insight.